Hello, this is Dominus Orbis, and today I'm going to be doing Packet Tracer 1.4.1.2, the Skills Integration Challenge Ospf, the first packet tracer available in CCNA 4 class. So it's a summary of all of the skills pretty much up to this point on CCNA 1, 2, and 3. I want to thank you for viewing. Here's my tag, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So the scenario is a business just expanded. Right here, we need to do some dual stack, IPv4, IPv6, and I got my configuration IP table right here, and then the requirements. Alright, so let's start off with R1 here. What do we got to do? Set the device names, set Cisco encrypted privilege, password, banner message of the day with the word warn, IPv4 and 6, addressing according to the table, and a link local on both R1 and R4. So let's just get started. Let's go ahead and do both stacks on each interface and the link local before we move on so we don't miss anything. Alright, now we're ready for S000. This is going to be the interface going out to the internet on R1 over here. The reason I mention that is because we're not going to include it in our network statements whenever we assign Ospf. Configure that. Just up arrow for the link local on all of the interfaces. If I can find it. There it is. Okay, next is going to be S001. And do a no shut. And then up arrow on the link local. There we go. again, up arrow for the link local. Okay, what else do we need to do? Got the device name, the encrypted privileged password, banner, IPv4 and IPv6, and link local. You know what? Let's go ahead and do unicast routing. On both routers. We're going to need that. You can do a do right or Control C right. Okay, let's move on to 4. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and enable the unicast routing right here for IPv6 because we're going to be needing that in a later step. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. This one will be shorter. We only have 2 interfaces here, so let's go ahead and knock those out with the IP addressing. Both the version 4 and version 6 again. And the link local. Oh, it would help if I could spell address here. There we go. And then again, the serial interface here is the one going out to the internet. Don't forget your nose shut. You can do it last if you prefer. I like to do it first so I don't forget. Oh, did that take? There we go. A little bit of copy paste. Gotta love those ciders. The prefix here, /64. Up arrow for the link local, which will be done. And then we can do right or Control C right. Done. Next we're going to configure shell on router 4. Domain R4, admin username, password has to be secret, encrypted. RSA key is 2048 bits. And then we need to configure all the VTY lines, which there are 16. Let's go ahead and do that. Here are my lines, 0 through 15, 16 lines. R4 is the domain. User admin secret Cisco. I think that's it, yep. Okay, crypto key, I think generate RSA. It says I already have a defined key. Do I really want to replace them? Yes. 2048. Let's go ahead and copy the running config. Shell has been enabled right here. Alright, good. Now let's configure all the lines to use SSH and login local. So we're going to just go to the line VTY, the virtual lines, 0 through 15. We're going to do login local, transport, input SSH. Done. We're going to do a do right. Okay. We're still on router 4. We're going to set up router 4 as a server for its LAN, creating a pool. The pool is going to include the DNS server, also the default router, and we're going to exclude the router IP. Simple enough. I like to exclude the addresses first. That way they're not issued out once DHCP is configured. It said we don't want the LAN interface, so that's going to be the 10.10.4.1. That's this gigabit 00 interface right here. It's going to be it for that. Pool is going to be called R4. And here's my network right here, the 10.10.4.0/24. That's the range of IPs that I'm going to be issuing in my DHCP server. Done. Also need to set the DNS server for 209.165.44.2. Where would that be? Right here. Here's the domain name server. And the default router will be the gigabit 00 interface right here. The one we excluded, the 10.10.4.1. And then do right. Next step, we need to configure network address translation 3 different ways with a NAT/PAT, PAT, and static with 2 different access lists. Just a standard one. We're going to start on R4. We're only going to be dealing with the 10.10.4.0 addressing space right here. Where would that be? Alright. Right here. We're going to translate the traffic coming from the internet on this serial interface into my local area network. So click on R4. Exit that out. I need an access list 1 permit. Wildcard. Okay. Next step. Enable NAT using the access list. Okay. There we go. We're going to overload it, so it's a port address translation. Okay, that looks good. Now we need to configure the interfaces, so the gig 00 is going to be inside, and the serial 001 is going to be outside. Okay? Alright, we're done with that one. Do right. Go over here to R1. We're going to use pat again. So, first step, access list 1. I'm going to permit the 10.10.0.0 /16 will be 00255.255 wildcard. Okay, done. Next step. Oh yeah, I guess we should look at the instructions here. Alright, we're on this one. I already did the first thing here, single statement to the /16 address space. Now I created the access. This is now going to define a pool. This one's actually going to use a pool. So you're going to need to apply the word overload. It's probably not necessary to include overload here. So we didn't create a pool. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Now remember, on NAT you can use all the addresses, including the network and the broadcast. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, I got my pool. Now I need to bind it to the access list. So to do that, you need to do just like we did on the previous one. I think that's it. Oh, right, we're going to overload it. That should be good. And now with the interfaces, all of them will be inside except for this guy right here going out to the internet. This one. My serial 000 is the outside address. The other serials are inside. Alright, looks good. I'm going to go ahead and do right. Now we're going to do static NAT for this intranet server right here. This is my web server for port 80 and port 443 on TCP. So port 80 there. I keep forgetting I have another page over here that I'm looking at. We're on this step right now. Okay, let's continue. And then port 80 again. That should be it. Then we get this up arrow, change 80 to secure 443, and now my packet tracer should count up 2 points, which it did. Alright, that's it for NAT. Let's do right. What do we got next? Okay, default routing here on R1 and R4. On R1, IPv4 and 6. First we're going to do specify to the next hop, and then we're going to, on this one, use the interface for the 6. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. So this first one on R1 is going to be out the serial interface going to the internet. Just like that. And also an IPv6 route. I've already enabled the unicast routing, so we're good. And the syntax for that is 0::0 0/0, and that one's going to go out the exit interface. So for R1, that's going to be the 0/0/0. Let's see if that takes. Okay, that looks good. Alright, we're done for now with R1. We've got to do Ospf in a second. Let's go to R4 and configure default route for IPv4 and IPv6 using the exit interface. Okay, looks good. R4 here. And the interface is serial 001. Alright, good. Okay, good. Let's do right. Okay. Back on R1. Alright, what do we got here? Now we're going to set up the routing protocol, open shortest path first. Version 2 is IE, IPv4, and on R1. And on R1, we're also going to set up version 3, which is IPv6. So let's go ahead and do version 4 on R1. Process ID is 1. Do show IP route connected. Advertise directly connect to networks. Do not include the internet link. So don't include this one here. Alright. Is it a wildcard? Yeah, that's it. Area is 0. And just up arrow there. Yep, I got an adjacency there. Change this to 4. Alright, good. /26 is going to be 128 plus 64, 192, so .63. Again, area 0. Got another adjacency here. Alright, looks good. and then propagate the default route that we created earlier. As such, now let's move on to version 3, IPv6 on the same router. Remember, on version 6 and OSPF, you have to manually configure the router ID using the router ID command. So we've already enabled unicast routing, so we can just go ahead and IPv6 router OSPF. Process ID is 1 again. And this time we're going to go ahead and configure the ID. Oh, that's a step I forgot on the OSPF version 2. I didn't disable the updates on the LAN interface, so we need to go back and do that. That's a gigabit 00. Okay, let's do that next. Let's do that before I forget. Okay, now we need to go into each interface and enable OSPF version 3. There are no network statements, it's a per interface. So we can just do show IP interface brief. Okay, looks good. We won't be using the 000. That's our internet. We have a default route going there. Did I miss one? 001, 0. No, looks good. Okay. Yeah. Do right. Alright, looks good. Complete any required OSPF version 3, blah, blah, blah. That's on the per interface. IPv6. OSPF, process ID, area 0, what we just did. Now on PC 5 and 6, we're going to set up DHCP version 4 and autoconfig for version 6. And then we're done. Looking good. That's it. Thank you for viewing. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a good night.